Welcome to the Pride Perspectives radio show. This is Rob Darrow. My pronouns are he, him, and his. Our Pride Perspectives radio show is here on KSQD every other Sunday from 5 to 6. Find all our recordings and updates on the Santa Cruz Pride website, santacruzpride.org, and wherever you get your podcasts. I'm here tonight with my co-host, Cece Pinero. Hi, Cece. How's it going?
Hi, Rob. It's good to have you back. We missed you last time. And yes, my name is Cece Pinero, and my pronouns are she, her. Our show is guided by the following beliefs. We believe that Santa Cruz County is thriving partly because of the contributions of LGBTQ plus people, and LGBTQ plus people in Santa Cruz County are thriving because of the broader Santa Cruz County. We believe in the words of Jewish poet Emma Lazarus that none of us are free until all of us are free.
On this show, you will hear us refer to queer history and LGBTQ plus history. For us, these terms are interchangeable and refer to people who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, anywhere on the gender identity spectrum, and who they are attracted to. All are welcome to be part of this radio show. Our show today is called Reflections from Monterey Pride and Pride Month with Nick Zafaritos and Grand Marshals David Reichard and J.T. Mason, and you'll hear from all of them in just a few minutes. June has been Pride Month, and today is really the last day of Pride Month for all of us. We've done 3 different shows talking about Pride, why it's important. And Cece, I'm curious how Pride Month has been for you.
It's been great. It's been really great. I actually went to see the roller derby girls last night, and that was really fun. And in the beginning, they roll out with a big rainbow flag.
Really?
And they have the big rainbow flag up, and it's at the Civic Auditorium. They have the big rainbow flag up front, and then they have the trans flag next to it. It's pretty sweet.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and
So, the beginning of the month, we had Santa Cruz Pride, the parade and festival. We've talked about that. And during the last show, you were here, and I was at the Considering Matthew Shepard event that was held at Peace United Church. And it was standing room only. It was sold-out crowd. And they did such an amazing job. And, of course, we were both part of the interview with Cheryl Anderson
David,
and David Graham, who were part of our show, and it was such an amazing presentation. We have such talent across Santa Cruz County in so many ways.
Absolutely.
People celebrating in different ways, and then in our last show, you got to talk to Christy Latham and Joaquin Fitzsimmons. Do you want to talk a little bit about how that was? That
was great, and it's just so amazing that Christy started having the Santa Cruz High School band play in Santa Cruz Gay Pride, and then it was her brainchild to invite other schools. So if you think about it, so and now she's inviting more and more. So more and more schools are going to participate in Santa Cruz Gay Pride, and she changed the name of the Santa Cruz High Marching Band to the Northern California Marching Band. So that way more high schools can participate. And the important thing about this is that all kids who play in the band can say, hey, I got to go with my school band to go perform.
Right.
You don't have to say it's gay. So some kids, they will experience their first gay pride without ever having to say it out loud to their parents or anybody else. It's going to be another part of your participation in the band, and they travel all over doing different performances. And so it's really, I think it's a very, very interesting and cool way that she came up with, that Christy really came up with this great idea to do this. And
what did Joaquin think about all of that?
Well, and he thought it was fabulous and amazing.
He was a drum major, right?
He's a drum major, and he talked about that, and he's very excited about getting to participate in more activities, and it's going to be on his college resume, all the stuff they're doing, right?
Yeah, well, and I was so impressed with Joaquin putting all that together that he's got like 100,000 followers on YouTube. People just follow his drum major stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's so cool. Yeah. It's the thing now. YouTube and Instagram and TikTok. And
then both of those people we would consider allies to the LGBTQ community, right? Did they talk about why that's important to them, or why they thought that was important?
Well, basically, I think, Christy talked about, I asked her that, and she said, well, how could you not be part of it, because we are all part of this.
Yeah, we're all part of it.
Like the culture has changed so much from, when me and you were kids, or when we were in high school, that the culture is, the LGBTQ plus community is part of the community. And basically they almost were like, that's not even a question anymore, Cece.
Yeah. We're just part of the community. We all show up for each other, right?
Exactly.
And that's why we all love living here, for sure. So San Francisco Pride was happening today. Have you ever been to San Francisco Pride?
Oh, yes. I've been to San Francisco Pride a bunch of times, but it's gotten too commercial, and too big, and you can't really park anywhere or get your 5-10 feet, people deep back to.
Right.
Yeah. So
on one hand, we're excited that San Francisco Pride takes over the city for a whole day, right?
Yeah.
And all the activities leading up to it, the putting the pink triangle up on the mountain, and I've read about the beams of light they've shot up. I've got friends who are up there. Hopefully they've taken some photos of that.
Yes.
Makes me think about what we could do in Santa Cruz.
Yeah, rainbow beams of light everywhere.
That they've done it in lots of different ways. But I've been to San Francisco Pride a couple times, and I think it's an experience for 1 or 2 times.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I think for younger people, it's kind of like going to your first Pride. A lot of people talk at Santa Cruz Pride about, well, this is the first time I came to the parade, or the first time I marched in a parade, right? And I think San Francisco Pride's kind of like that. I mean, again, San Francisco Pride is the oldest pride in the state. So they've been around. And then, of course, they have a huge organization with, I think, 1 or 2 full-time people, so they work all year long doing great work.
Well, and there's more prides happening everywhere. My daughter moved to Beaverton, Oregon, and that's like 20 minutes from Portland. Well, Portland's had, their pride parades forever and ever, and Beaverton started their own. So it's like going really from Santa Cruz to Watsonville, kind of like Beaverton to Portland. And so, but they're only like 5 years old. So for 5 years, they just started, they had enough people that wanted to not go to Portland, where the big, whatever, like I said, it got so commercial. So commercial. So it's really great that smaller communities can create their own pride, and there's enough support to do
and
that.
once you've got your base organization going, like, again, I'm thinking of San Francisco Pride. I mean, they've got, their whole system set in place, right? I mean, they probably plan years in advance for their performers who are going to be there. Although I don't know how long in advance they choose their theme. I know that we in Santa Cruz Pride keep trying to figure out our theme earlier and earlier. But I imagine San Francisco Pride already has their theme for next year. Maybe they don't, but I'm sure they're all relieved that at the end of today, once today's over, they can relax for the week, because I know what that's like. At whatever level, right? Anybody organizing things, it takes time and effort. And in San Francisco, of course, they've broadened. The whole month is different Pride stuff going on, and it's been fun today just to see different people posting their parade photos from San Francisco Pride and their floats and all that stuff.
Well, I've gone out there probably more often and more recent to the Dyke March that happens the night before.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
What's that like?
Well, that's kind of fun and nice and easy. It seems like it's just on the Castro, and it's, there is a ton of people, but it's not, it's always an evening. So just like ours here, what we call ours the Dyke Trans March. I'm not sure what. I didn't go to San Francisco this year, so maybe they've changed their name too.
In the past, I've gone up to the putting that pink triangle up on. Oh, I forget what mountain they put it up on, but you go up there like at 6 a.m. At the beginning of June, and then you hammer in all these pink pieces to create this huge pink triangle up on that mountain. So it was really cool experience. I guess, in some ways we've done a different version of that by lighting up our, county building with rainbow lights in a different way. But it's like every organization, whatever works for your community is what's important. And of course, San Francisco Pride has modeled lots of ideas that many of us have taken and used for sure. People talk about, why do we keep needing to have prides? Every year there's people that question this stuff.
We need to keep having prides because San Francisco is one of the largest LGBTQ city,
populations.
And we had their San Francisco Giants baseball team be homophobic. So that's why we need
So
to
did
keep
you see
doing
that?
this.
Did you read all those articles about those?
I read about it. I heard about it.
Yeah.
I studied it. It was just really a shame that the hierarchy is not doing something about it.
Yeah, it's
And you know what? I also heard, there was one guy. He wore his regular San Francisco baseball cap with
Right.
the regular black and orange.
Yeah.
That's not defacing anything. That was just like
being neutral.
it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's like if you don't want to wear the rainbow, you
Right.
didn't have to.
Right.
And they're hopefully going to be fined for defacing property
Mm.
because you're not allowed to deface your outfit in any way, your uniform in
Right.
any way. And I hope they fine them, but the hierarchy's not doing anything to, dissuade them. And the people who attend the baseball games, I have a big, pet peeve about this. Stop going to San Francisco baseball games until they do the right thing.
Yeah.
Because the only thing that matters to them is money. If you have season tickets, tear them up, don't go. They look at who's in the stadium. After this happened, it was a friggin' sold-out crowd. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I can say that, Howard.
Friggin's okay.
Okay. It was a sold-out crowd.
What's
So
I talked to some people who were at that game, and they had no idea any of this other stuff was going on, and that it'd be interesting to find out who knew about it.
Well, I don't
afterwards.
I think when you went on Pride Night, you
Yeah.
didn't know they were going to do that because
Right.
it just happened while you're there.
Well, but you didn't know it was happening either,
But
unless
the
somebody
games after
focuses
that,
on it.
that's the
Yeah.
ones where there was newspaper, there was...
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
no, I think some news media picked
there
up
was
on
news
it or
media
something.
pickup, and
so
people were still going.
yeah, so somebody picked up on it. So that'd be an interesting story in itself to find out who saw what went on and then reported it, right? Because the people who were at the game that I talked to had no idea anything else was going on.
And you couldn't see from far away
Right,
what they were doing with their
exactly.
hats anyway,
Yeah,
right?
so they talked about that there were gay marriages that took place on the field. There were other LGBTQ related parts of that were so wonderful. And that they were surprised afterwards to read about it.
Right, and that actual event was great. That was an actual great day. It's the next day and the next day and the next
Right.
day.
And then the response, right? It's always the response.
Yeah.
That people just don't seem to know to respond, or are they so uncomfortable with... I keep saying to so many people, why does it matter, our sexual orientation or our gender identity? Why is that so important to other people? Why can't we just respect each other, right?
Right.
And then, I always love when people say, well, we're all the human race, so we should just equally respect everyone, which is fine. But then when there are events, we should equally respect people that way as well. So that, it was a bit disappointing for sure.
Well, and they disrespected their own, baseball creed by
Right.
defacing their own thing. They could have done any number of things, but
Yeah, it was pretty intentional what they did.
And
then I love the religious responses of, well, it's religious freedom. And I was thinking, it's funny how when something like that happens, they claim religious freedom, but the reverse happens when you want to put up rainbows in a classroom and they say that's not okay, right?
right.
But the world's full of contradictions, right?
It is.
That's the
So
fun
it's
part
what
of
are we going to
Santa
do about it
Cruz.
afterwards?
Right.
Is the
We're going to
thing.
talk about it on a radio show.
That's right.
And highlight different
and
Pride
highlight,
events.
and I tell everybody, stop going to the San Francisco
Yeah.
Giants game.
There we go.
Don't fill those seats until the hierarchy does something to make it right.
So we're going to talk about Monterey Peninsula Pride here in a few minutes after a break. Following the break, you're going to hear from Nick Zafaritos, who is the vice chair of Monterey Peninsula Pride. And during our break, you're going to hear some sounds from Monterey Peninsula Pride. I got to go and meet lots of people, and I just would walk around and ask people why it was so important. So you'll get to hear some of those clips and some of the sounds. And after the break, we'll talk to Nick. You're listening to the Pride Perspectives radio show on KSQT 90.7 FM, 89.7 FM, and KSQT 89.7 Prunedale, serving the counties of Santa Cruz and Monterey County.
My name is Eleanor Mendoza Whitney. I'm a mom and I'm here with Free Mom Hugs. And we are here to hug people and say, we are so proud of you. We are parents, and we are so proud of you, to anybody who wants to hear it.
And why is that so important?
Because so many LGBTQ community members lose their families when they come out, and it's just not okay.
Next year we need to talk to the...
So welcome back to the Pride Perspectives radio show here on KSQD. Our show today is Reflections from Monterey Pride and Pride Month with Nick Zafaritos and Grand Marshals David Reichard and JT Mason. Nick, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me today.
So great to have you here. You must be recovering from everything.
Yes, we're definitely taking a bit of a rest day today. Just a little bit, though.
Great. Well, Cece's we've got some questions, we look
questions.
forward to talk to you.
Yeah, Nick. Hi, I'm Cece, and got a couple questions for you. Thanks so much for being here. Can you share a little bit about where you grew up, where you attended school, and what school was like for you?
Yeah, I am from the East Bay originally. I grew up between San Leandro and Castro Valley. And I went to, I would say, a fairly conservative school and grew up in a fairly conservative area, even existing in such a liberal place like the Bay Area. And, yeah.
What city was that?
San Leandro, Castro Valley, kind of in between the two.
Were there, and then were there issues? I mean, I guess the question really is when you came out in your life, and was that an issue in school and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think that people identified my sexuality in school maybe before I was comfortable sharing it, and I think that comfortability probably was because of the homophobia and bullying and all of that stuff that existed kind of in that space.
So you do recall that at your schools, huh?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But I used to work in education, and I have seen that change over time as an adult, especially in our school system here in coastal California. And so it's been nice to see something that I could have benefited from as a youth as well.
Great. We always enjoy hearing people's coming out stories because we all have those experiences. Can you share a little bit about yours?
Yeah, I think I think most comical thing that comes to mind when I think about my coming out story, especially with my mother, was that we were kind of in a little bit of a heated debate at the time, and I can't remember what it was exactly about, but she had tied something to identity and sexuality, and I finally just decided to tell her, and all I remember is her asking me if I was sure over and over and over again, and I couldn't really find the words at the time, but after a few moments of silence, I remember saying something like, if I wasn't sure, I wouldn't be telling you, and kind of storming off from there. And it was, I'm not necessarily close with my family as an adult, and so I think they all know that I exist, like, in this world as an openly gay, openly queer person. But I also, I'm of the belief that I assume everybody's a little gay until they come out to me as straight.
That's
and
right.
So,
About what age? About what age was that when you had that encounter with your mom?
Yeah, probably like 16 or 17, I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and it was something that, like, after telling my mom, like, her and I, quote unquote, together decided to, like, keep it on the down low and not tell our dad yet, and, like, that kind of stuff.
We've heard lots of stories like
yes,
that.
There's a lot like
Don't
that.
tell your dad over and over, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah,
What is
like,
that
okay,
about dad?
I know.
Huh?
Yeah.
What is that?
But did you know inside that at what age would you say you realized you were gay, and what was that like?
Yeah, so I can't remember a time not feeling gay, personally.
Okay.
I think that I was gay from the start, from the very start. So I do know that, like, growing up, I often, I think, like, towed the line between wanting to be, fit in with the boys and also embrace maybe my femininity a little bit. And so, but I think that was always rooted in kind of understanding, even if maybe at the time I wasn't fully acknowledging the identity that existed in there.
So how did you end up in Monterey?
Yeah, so I, like many of us that grew up in the Bay Area, visited this area quite a bit as a child, and I left the East Bay right at 18 and haven't really been back since. And since moving out right after high school, I've bounced around a lot of small coastal communities. Monterey is actually the biggest city that I've lived in, fun fact, since I left the Bay Area, which is just funny because it's, not that big of a city. But I ended up in Monterey after getting, work in the area about 5 years ago. And I'm really excited to be able to put down roots in a place that I had such positive experiences in as a youth, and also in a place where I've been able to create so much community through Monterey Peninsula Pride.
You talked a second ago about being involved in education in some way. I'm curious if you can share a little bit about your career journey at this point.
Yeah, definitely. I have a bit of a unique background. I have worked in public education and also kind of moonlighted in emergency medical services as an EMT for quite some time. And so in my adult life now, I have bridged those two experiences into working in the regional side of emergency management at the county level here in Monterey. But in education specifically, I ran after-school programs. I ran an outdoor school in the Pescadero Valley, north of Santa Cruz for a little while. And also did some school safety duties here in Monterey County as well.
Wonderful. Well, let's move into Monterey Pride. How long have you been involved in that, and how did you get involved in it?
Yeah, this is my third year on the board with Monterey Peninsula Pride, and I, in moving to the area, I had served on other nonprofit boards in the past. I wanted to serve with an organization that their mission was near and dear to my heart and my values. And I also, as a young gay person, I wanted to meet queer community not online. And so that led me to kind of getting involved with Monterey Peninsula Pride, and they've been stuck with me since.
We'll get to Monterey Pride in a minute, but I'm curious if you can recall the first Pride event that you attended as a gay person, and did you watch a parade? Did you walk in a parade, or what was that experience? Do you recall?
Yeah. So as a Bay Area youth, like many of us, there may have been some San Francisco Prides that I snuck into before I was of age to attend some of those events. And so I experienced. I
didn't know you had to be a certain age to go to San Francisco Pride, but
at some of the events you definitely do.
Oh,
and, so
I guess that's a story for off the radio, huh?
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that another day. But I experienced my first few SF Prides fairly young, but didn't really go to Pride as an adult until joining the board here with Monterey Peninsula Pride.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Monterey Pride. How did it go this year?
Yeah, it's every year we seem to be getting a little bit bigger and a little bit brighter. It was such a joyous day in downtown Monterey. We had over 80 organizations tabling with us. We had 22 sponsors this year. We had thousands of people celebrating with us in the plaza. Over 1,000 people signed up to march in the parade this year. Alvarado Street was just packed. Custom House Plaza was just packed. And it is always just such a fun and festive day to be celebrating community, celebrating allyship, and the ground that we all stand on as a greater queer community.
Yeah, earlier we were talking about the importance of these kinds of things. What why do you think this is important?
Yeah, I think visibility is huge. The Monterey Peninsula is, not a community that has a dedicated queer center. And so without our annual parade and celebration and the other queer events that we do throughout the community, throughout the year, our greater LGBTQIA2S+ community would not really have a space to gather. And so through partnership, through expanding our annual parade and celebration, we're really able to meet the folks in Monterey County where they're at and get to know our queer peers.
Do you have any highlights, or what were the highlights for you?
Yeah, it's all a bit of a blur, I will say. When you spend a year kind of planning and ideating around an event and moving into execution of something so large scale, it can be a bit of a blur. I will say I really enjoyed sharing the stage this year with the chair of our board, Mel Zaragoza, and getting to speak for the first time at Pride. And I think every year seeing it expand is a personally just such a humbling experience to see the community just show up and show out in such a meaningful way, especially at a time like this, that we're all existing in, where our queer and gender nonconforming and trans siblings are under pointed attack. I think it's really important to celebrate spaces like this, and we've done that through our theme of Be Queer Here, showing people that you can be queer right here in Monterey County. You don't need to go to bigger cities like San Francisco or San Jose to feel safe being queer. And every single year, I will say another kind of highlight or trend that I see from Pride is new folks coming out and saying, something along the lines of, I had no idea that this many people like me existed, in this area, and the sense of reassurance almost that comes from that statement.
That is so amazing. Now, how about who are your partners, like the city or the county of Monterey? Are they partners?
We've got tons of partners in the area. City, county, our local businesses, nonprofit organizations. We've been identified for the last couple of years as an economic driver by one of our local chambers, business associations here in Monterey, because of the sheer number of people that we bring. And it is definitely a collective effort that we do through municipal, nonprofit, local business partnership that exists all year long.
How do you build those partnerships? What do you do to kind of sustain those?
Yeah, well, I'll be fully transparent and say that we have a full just powerhouse right now on our board of directors that are mission driven, they're passionate, they're dedicated to the task at hand. And in addition to having, passion for the visibility and the fun and the joy and the light that we do throughout the year, we also have a group that's being called on to do a lot more advocacy in our current times right now. And all of us that exist on the board have a special skill set of some kind that allows us to collectively step up and step forward to speak on behalf of the greater queer and trans community in this area, to make Monterey, the greater Monterey Bay Area, a more safe and inclusive and celebratory space.
Great.
So now, are you going to, is it, just for all of our listeners, is Monterey Pride going to be at the same Saturday or Sunday next year, or what do you have a plan? Like, are you already planning for the future?
Yeah, we're planning for the future. We actually just secured our 2028 date, which is wild to, be filing permits for 2028 already. But Pride 2027 will be on Saturday, June 26th. So you can go ahead and mark your calendars now. We'd love to have you there and have another, bigger and brighter celebration every single time.
Great. Now, sort of back to the Pride stuff. How do you select your Grand Marshals?
Yeah, our Grand Marshals are selected based off of board and community input. We had two really extraordinary Grand Marshals this year that I know you're going to speak to in a little bit here. But these two individuals were, just so well respected by queer leaders in the area, as well as the greater queer community for the safety that they have helped establish here in Monterey County. And so we like to be open to feedback and open to suggestions and open to people who are making a true and genuine impact.
Great. Do you have any final thoughts or final words you'd like to share?
Yeah, just, Monterey Peninsula Pride. Please follow us on social media at Monterey Pride. Go to our website, www.peninsulapride.org. On our socials, on our website, we house a community calendar where we post our annual parade and celebration, as well as the events that we do year-round. And if folks are listening and driving in the area and looking for something to do today, we actually have queer karaoke happening right now at Pop and Hiss in Pacific Grove until 7 p.m. It's a $5 cover. It's all ages. And there are tons of people here having a great time right now. I'm actually parked outside. I'm going to go join them shortly. So,
that's great.
Yeah,
that's
lots
great.
happening.
Thanks so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, thank you.
we're going to take a short break and share some of the sounds from the Santa Cruz Pride.
You mean Monterey Peninsula
Pride? Monterey Peninsula Pride events and parade. And you're listening to Pride Perspectives radio show on KSQD 90.7 FM, 89.7 FM, and KSQT 89.7 Prunedale, serving counties of Santa Cruz and Monterey.
Hi, my name's Elaine Schoaf. I'm the pastor at the Christian Church of Pacific Grove, and we think it's imperative that we are at Pride because we want people to know that God loves them just as they are and that they are fully accepted by us. And we love you. Bye.
Hi, everybody. This is Sheriff Tina Nieto, and I'm here at Monterey Gay Pride, being part of this family. I am a little bit older, and so I know the struggles that we've had through the years to keep our rights, and I just want to let the listeners know that we are everywhere, and that includes our sheriff's office.
We are here reflecting on Monterey Pride and Pride Month with Nick Zafaritos and our Grand Marshals Dave Reichard and J.T. Mason. Our Grand Marshals for Monterey Peninsula Pride this year, Dave Reichard, was one of the founding members of Monterey Pride. He's a retired professor from CSU Monterey Bay, where he helped to implement the Rainbow Pride Center. J.T. Mason is a longtime activist working with multiple organizations that embrace diversity, equity, and inclusion. Currently, she's involved in many things, and for over 20 years has hosted several public radio shows on KAZU and KUSP, and probably could teach us something about hosting a radio show like this. Anyway, Dave and JT, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. You're doing great.
Oh, great. Thanks. I'm glad to get the validation. So, Cece, you're going to talk to JT, I think.
Yes. Okay. Well, hi, JT. Thanks you both for being here. JT, can you share a little bit about where you grew up, where you attended school, and what school was like for you?
I grew up in southern Ohio in the early 50s, mid-50s, early 60s, and outside of Cincinnati, so southern Ohio, which is very red. And while the people are lovely and the area is lovely, it is a very scary place to be different. And so I was pretty isolated. My family, thank God, was progressive. We grew up Unitarian Universalists. But even, the more progressive people can find places where they just have blind spots. And it was a very scary time. I ended up in the hospital one night because I got beat up. I had my car scorched one time. People didn't know what to do. On one level, they liked me a lot. On another level, I disgusted them. And so it was this sort of strange duality that happens with the homophobia.
Absolutely. Well, I hear you, sister. I was in Ohio in 1978, and in this little place called Willard, Ohio, which is between Toledo and Sandusky, so a little north of where you were. But we drove down to Cincinnati to go to the bars. But I wore Levi jeans, and people were like, "What the heck?" And also, I rode a bicycle. And people walking down the street or riding their cars, they were just like they thought I was like a crazy Californian, which I was.
Yes.
But I can imagine that was 78, and so you were talking about the 50s and 60s. I can imagine it's very, very different. And when I was there in 78, I worked with this a white straight woman that was married to an African American man, and she went to rent a house, and they rented it to her. And then when they went to go move in, they saw her husband. They told him, "I'm sorry, we're not renting to you," and that happened in 1978.
Yeah.
So the homophobia, discrimination, racism is certainly alive and well. So thank you for being here and coming out and surviving, being a survivor. So how did you end up in Monterey?
My parents got divorced when I was 10, and my father moved out here to Carmel, and I would come out and visit and fell in love with the area. And I knew I needed, just for survival, to get out of southern Ohio, so California looked like this beacon. And I came out and went to school in Stockton at UOP. And after I graduated, I came down to Monterey, just, momentarily, I thought. But I've been here ever since.
That's great. And now, sort of, what was coming out for you like? Did you come out to your parents or your siblings or friends, or when was that and how was that?
Coming out was a series of events. You start to have a conversation, and you think you're going to finish, and then one person veers at the last minute. I remember being in a car with my mom. We were driving, and I was talking about getting ready to sort of say it, and she'd change the subject every chance she could. And other times it was sort of like that, and then they would approach it, and eventually we had the conversation. But it was not a one moment in particular.
So, what caused you to be part of the Monterey Peninsula Pride?
I'm sorry, what was the first part of that sentence?
Well, how did you get involved with Monterey Peninsula Pride?
I was on the board early on for a couple of years. I've always been supportive, wonderful people, and now, of course, it just keeps growing. I'm so proud of the organization. But I helped organize the first, and then I was off doing other things, and then they, God bless them, asked me to be Grand Marshal, and I was just so tickled to do it with Dave.
Great.
And,
well, we're going to hear more about being Grand Marshal in a second, but let's talk to David for just a minute.
Sure.
David, can you talk a little bit about where you grew up and where school was and what school was like for you?
Sure. Thanks for having us, by the way. This is just a great opportunity to talk about Pride.
Absolutely.
I grew up in Pennsylvania, in the Philadelphia area, and a little bit different generation than JT. I was kind of a 60s kid, 70s kid, and I grew up in a large family, 6 kids, Catholic family, and I was in Catholic school most of the time.
Where were you in the
college.
kid lineup in your family?
I'm the oldest.
Ah,
I'm
okay.
the oldest of 6, yes. And so I think my experience of attending school, particularly as sort of a emerging queer person, because I really wasn't out for a while, was shaped by that experience of growing up in a large family and going to Catholic school for much of my early years.
I like that term, emerging queer person. So, how did the emerging happen for you?
Very slowly, I must say. I'm kind of a late bloomer. I came out after I finished. I went to college and I went to law school, and I finished law school. And I said, I'm going to come out. So I came out as I was entering my graduate school program in history, and so I wasn't a kid really when I came out. I was in my 20s. But it was, and like JT, I think that coming out experience was a long process for me, and it's continual. I think we as queer people have to come out all the time. It doesn't even matter, how old you are. You're coming out consistently throughout your life. But for me, those early moments were about finding friends and allies and family members who were sympathetic, because I had grown up in an environment where, this wasn't the most supportive at first.
So I'm curious how it was coming out to your family, because like you, I'm the oldest of 5. So when I came out much later in life than even you, I had to think about how to tell all of them in the same week, because I was afraid they would talk to each other. So what was that like? Were your parents still alive? What was it like talking to your parents or coming out to your brothers and sisters?
I came out to siblings first to test the waters. And, well, actually to friends first. And then siblings, and then my parents together, which was kind of rough because they were pretty religious people. And that was always the real sticking point with them over the course of this long process of them coming to terms with myself and then eventually 2 other siblings.
There's 3 queer siblings in your family?
3 queer siblings in my family. And it took, after number 3, I think they were like, well, I guess here we are. And,
oh my gosh, that's a whole story in itself, I can imagine.
The third one's a charm.
That's a whole story. But it was a gradual, very long, gradual process. But they were, in their own way, very supportive of me as a person. Maybe not so much as a queer person, but they loved me, and they were there. I'm
curious from you, and then also from JT, is if you were talking to young people who are thinking about coming out, what would you say to them today?
What would I say to them? Well, as a professor, when I was a professor, it happened, and JT might have this experience working in the community. As a professor, I had a lot of students who kind of came to me with this exact question. Like they were in school, they were finding themselves, trying to find a path forward. And, I think everyone has a different route to this, to answer this question. So, just trying to figure out where, are they safe? That would be my first question. Are you going to be safe if you talk about this with your family? And then, go from there. But that seems to be still an issue that we have to think about.
JT, what do you think? What's your advice to younger people these days?
Well, I guess to get their people around them, whatever family or friends already know, or because now it's so much more visible, to make certain you have your core group there. Because even now, some progressives can come out with some pretty homophobic and in particular transphobic things that I don't even think they know how phobic it's being. They're just saying things. So you want to make sure you have your support system there, and a place to land should it go rough.
Oh, that's great advice. So I know you both have been involved with Monterey Peninsula Pride. For the people who aren't aware of the history of Monterey Peninsula Pride, could you share a little bit about what year it started, how long it's been around, and some thoughts about how it went this year?
Dave's the archivist. I hope you can do this one, Dave.
Yeah.
I'll jump in a little bit. So, Monterey Peninsula Pride, many people don't really understand that it's not the first Pride organization that originated in Monterey. I mean, there's a long history in the area of Pride-like events, and then a Pride organization called Pride of Monterey County, which existed from the 90s through about 2014 or so. But by 2017, there had been a lull in Pride events. There had been some social events in those years, but a big Pride event had not been held for a long time. So a group of folks got together, including the now mayor of Monterey, Tyler Williamson. He was instrumental in the formation of this current organization. And a whole group of folks just started to meet in the spring of 2017. And we put on a Pride in like 2 or 3 months. It was amazingly fast to pull together such an event. But, we met twice a week sometimes, just trying to get the details organized. Started in Seaside, had 2 years of Pride events in Seaside, and then moved to Monterey in 2019.
So if 2017 was the first year, does that mean next year will be your 10th anniversary?
It should be, yeah.
Oh, cool.
We did the math
Great.
correctly. Yeah.
And
Fabulous.
2017.
JT, you've been involved for a while. What caused you to be so involved?
Involved in Pride in particular?
Correct. Yeah.
I think visibility is so keen. When I grew up in Ohio, if there was anything about gay happening, I remember one movie with Shirley MacLaine and Audrey Hepburn. They were lovers, and one ended up hanging herself. That's how they solved it. And there was just movie like that. And so, there was no visibility, or if it was there, it was dark and gloomy. And the kind of effect that has on a person who's coming out is so horrendous. So to have something like Pride, where you have people standing up and going, this is who I am, this is my community, I'm full of joy, I'm full of pride in who I am, come celebrate with me. Whether you're straight, gay, or whatever, how you see yourself, this is something to be proud of. And I'll tell you, the joy is overwhelming during Pride events.
So, JT, what were some of your most memorable parts of this year's Pride, and about being a Grand Marshal?
I was just hearing the title Grand Marshal. It makes me giggle every time I think about it. It tickles me so, and I adore Dave. So to be able to do it with Dave was fantastic. And that board of directors for Monterey Peninsula Pride just held us so carefully and pampered us and made me feel very adored and also cherished for the work I've done. You do a lot of this work because it's survival, and then you want to make sure no one else has to go through what you went through as a kid. And so you continue to do that work. But then to have somebody you don't even know stand back and go, hey, that's amazing, and I want to applaud you. Once you sort of get over the oh gosh kind of stage, it really feels wonderful.
What would you say you were most recognized for as a Grand Marshal?
I'm guessing for my work in radio.
Mm-hmm.
I was in public radio for a long time, and I think the thing that I did that will probably stand out more than anything is I was fully myself. I talked about when I got married. I talked about when we adopted a baby. There was the horrible gay agenda. You know what it is. It's just people being people. And as you know, being in radio, people can be awfully kind to you, and they build a rapport with you because you're coming into their homes or their cars. So they started, I think, caring about me and going along with all this. And I think it helped dissipate all the horrible images that people had based on homophobic Fox News kind of thing.
Wow, that's so awesome. Just thanks for doing that and standing up. It must have been pretty courageous at the time to do it.
There were moments that were courageous, and other times it was just so wonderful.
Yeah, just being yourself, huh?
Yeah, it just felt great. I feel very honored and blessed by the journey I've been on. I've been lucky.
And David, how about you? What was it like being a Grand Marshal, and what are some of the reasons you think you were chosen?
Well, again, with just standing up there with JT is such an honor. Just to be recognized alongside her was just amazing. And I have such great respect for the organization, having been part of the initial start of it and on the board for a while. I'm just very thrilled. I was very humbled and very thrilled to be part of it. I think for me, it's probably my interest in queer history. One of the things that I've been doing here is trying to document the history of LGBTQ plus experiences in Monterey County. We have a project, archive, housed at CSUMB, and I think most folks don't know that this history exists. So I think just reclaiming that history, making it visible, making it part of our just deep understanding that you can be queer here, and people have been for a long time, in different ways than we are today. But it's always been a fabric of this community, and it's important to highlight and remember that.
Yeah, Dave, you and I have talked about this on and off for many years. We should do a show just about the comparable history of Santa Cruz LGBTQ plus history, which is housed mostly at our Museum of Art and History, and Monterey queer history, which is housed mostly at CSUMB. Be fun to talk about that sometime.
It would be, yes, definitely.
For sure. So for the two of you, unfortunately, our time is running out, but we'd love to hear a little bit about what was another highlight of Monterey Peninsula Pride this year, and any final thoughts you have.
Ray and I talked about this a lot, how wonderful it is that so many organizations that aren't necessarily associated with Pride, like the Solidarity Network, the Unitarian Church, on and on. There were so many organizations involved, and how they came out. They set up their booths. They were fully present and fully there to make certain we all could be seen and safe and celebrated. And too often that doesn't happen. But we've really worked hard, especially since Prop 8 passed, to realize we need to continue to build coalitions with other organizations, that we're working very hard on this immigration so that ISIS gets out of Gilroy and people feel safe when they go to work. And that's how we build that community that keeps us all safe. And I really saw it in the amount of groups that were at the event.
So it sounds like what you're saying is it's important for everybody to show up and be visible.
Exactly.
And it was certainly, as I walked through those different exhibit booths, I was amazed at the variety of organizations, like you said. That was really awesome. Dave, what about you? What final thoughts do you have about Monterey Peninsula Pride?
Well, I agree completely with JT. The thing that really distinguishes, I think, Monterey Peninsula Pride is this range of organizations that are beyond queer communities. Like, they are queer adjacent, if you use that phrase. They support, folks politically, spiritually, through healthcare and educational environments, and as allies, as institutional organizations. They're there to support this community, and I think that's just a really special part of Monterey Pride, just because of the range of those supporters. I think the other thing that really I'm always struck by at Monterey Pride is just the families. It's always been a family-friendly event in the sense that it welcomes all people, and that creates a bigger space for all kinds of queer folks to come together.
Yeah.
Well, once again, congratulations for a fabulous Monterey Peninsula Pride and for being Grand Marshals and for all the work you've done and for joining us here today.
Hey, thanks a lot for having us on.
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome. And again, have a great rest of your Pride Month. 1 or 2 more days here.
You too.
All right, take care.
All righty. Cece, do we have a final quote tonight?
Yes, we do.
And what might it be?
It might be. So the pride, the quote is, "No pride for some of us without liberation for all of us." And that was said by Marsha P. Johnson, a black trans activist involved in Stonewall in 1969.
Would you say that quote again?
No pride for some of us without liberation
For all of us. Yeah, boy. And, you know, I'll just speak for the broader Pride organizations at times have done things that have excluded parts of our queer community. And I think that quote's from one of those events where she was feeling excluded. Yep, we got to keep working on that for sure.
For sure.
So we've got a number of upcoming events. As we've mentioned, this is the end of Pride Month. We're happy to have talked about many Pride events across Santa Cruz and Monterey counties. But coming up in July and August will be the 61st season of the Cabrillo Festival of Contemporary Music. And the theme this year is We the Dreamers. And it includes many musical premieres and compositions by queer composers. Again, that's from July 26th to August 9th in the Civic Auditorium. And you can find information on their website at the Cabrillo Festival of Contemporary Music. In particular, the final night, August 9th, there'll be a special queer meetup taking place before the festival that night. You're all invited to be part of it. We'll have more information about that on our website and on the Cabrillo Festival of Contemporary Music's website as well. Our next show will feature Cabrillo Festival of Contemporary Music Executive Director Riley Nicholson and some of the composers that will be here between July 12th and after. You know, that annual event is just an incredible musical event for Santa Cruz County. Have you been part of those, Cece, at all?
I think I've been to 1 or 2 back because it's been going on for a while.
It is. It's one of few events across the country where musicians come from all across the United States and play all this music and the premier events for many composers and that sort of thing. So it's an event you don't want to miss, so make sure you put that on your calendar. The other thing to keep in mind is that August is Transgender History Month, and we'll talk more about that in August. You can find all our information on our website, santacruzpride.org. Before we sign off tonight, again, Pride is a time for people to really stand up to support the LGBTQ plus culture. And it's important to realize that wherever you are in your coming out process or whoever you are, we all stand up for each other throughout our county of Santa Cruz for sure. We want to thank you again for listening into our Pride Perspectives radio show, conversations and stories to celebrate the LGBTQ plus culture and history across Santa Cruz and Monterey counties. And I like what we learned tonight. One of our people who we interviewed here said, we are all emerging queer people. So that we can all be that. We can all be emerging queer people. That's right. And JT said, JT said that. Well, and actually Nick said, and there's a little bit of queerness in everybody. Right. A little bit of queerness and everyness, so we can all be emerging queer people. Just like we're, all human people and things like that. So important things to remember. So again, thanks for being here.